What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in today to Muscle Mike Fishing. I'm gonna share with you everything that I kind of carry within my fishing backpack, specifically really just the soft plastics. I was gonna make a super long video and kind of go over through everything, but I really think that I'm gonna dive deep into each one. That way, I'll have a crankbait one or like different diving baits. That way, top waters, you can really expand and you can really build out kind of your toolbox. And again, I am not like a professional fisherman. I'm somebody who's been fishing my whole life. I kind of grew up doing a lot of soft plastics, specifically like Texas rigging or like wacky rigging for bass. But I really think it's important to really dive a little deeper into this. So maybe you're somebody who's just trying to get some new baits. What should I have? What colors I should have? How heavy a weight should I have? When should I be fishing these things? These are things that I found helpful to my fishing experiences and at this point in my fishing life. So everything I talk about today is actually going to be in the notes below, so you can just check those out. I think it's really helpful. Just Amazon ships them right to you. You can try things out, see what works, see what doesn't. And just a disclaimer, I do not have any brand affiliations with anybody. So I really chose these baits on a couple key things. Do they work? How accessible can I get them? Can I find them in most places, whether it's Amazon or Bass Pro or Cabela's? Can I do they last? Like, that's another one. Like, are they cheaply made? And then also price. I think sometimes you get what you pay for with lures, and sometimes you're paid for a name, and there's a sweet spot. And I think soft plastics is one that I'll drop some money on certain brands, and then others I'll kind of just burn insurance through them. But let's dive into my tackle box and let's get after it. All right, so we're down on my layer here, but before we dive into my bag here, I want to go with real quick. Honestly, I never have used these too much, but now that I got a kayak, it's great to just, travel with these and just put your rod socks on. Like, I got a pack here off Amazon. I'll put the link down below. I think I got a pack. I think there's like 10 or something in here. So they came out to be a couple bucks each. But man, they make the world of a difference when packing through. And, they got a nice hard point here. So, if you're hitting the ground or anything like that, just for storage purposes, I would 100% get this. Protect your asset. If you're going to be traveling more, you could even get a hard case, but these are great just for everyday stuff. All right, so let's dive into here. So I'll say this again, I'm just kind of showing you what I have, but before we get into the soft plastics, I freaking love this backpack right through here. I got it off Amazon. It's just I can fit 4 trays in here. I have everything labeled in here. It's pretty awesome. And I'll make videos on each kind of one of these boxes. That way you guys can kind of go through them quickly without having to watch like a half-hour video. But all kinds of different storage options. But today, what we're going to show you is everything I have that is my soft plastics. So if I can get this open. And I'm just going to lay them out here. So I have a lot of soft plastics. And I think you just start to collect them, and you can really go wild with getting soft plastics. So we're going to dive into each one of these bags. So as you can see, I just organize them. I have like my creatures and chunk baits. Through here, I have like my swim tails and more tubes. I have my Ned Rigs. I was just trying to try that pack off Amazon. I'll go into that later. And then I have all my ribbon tails and my SEINKO. So let's go through kind of what is in here, and then I'm also going to get out my hooks, and I'll show you, the different rig hooks that I have, and kind of how I'll use them, when I'll use them, and then also my weights. I'm actually missing some weights, but I'll go all through that, so let's dive in. All right, guys, so first things first is going to be worms, right? So either, you're fishing like your SEINKO worms, which is more like your straight kind of, tube heavy worm, or a culper tail. It's got that nice long tail. That's usually what I would fish, basically like anywhere. I like, like 5-inch worm, or sometimes I'll throw in a 10-inch if I want extra tail action. So I'm going to show you what I have here, but first let's jump into the hooks. All right, guys, so let's jump in here. So I have a bunch of hooks. I'll kind of go through these. Some of these are jig heads, so we're not going to really rip into those. So this is just your basic offset hook. All right, you can see it's got the ledge there, so you basically would, hook it up there, whatever you're doing, whether it's a, one of these guys or one of these guys, which I'll show you next. But you just, you put a little bit over, that ledge helps it kind of stay, and then you'd hook it up. And I'm not going to show you to hook something up right here today. Actually, you know what, I'll show you that. So stay tuned for that, but it's really, really super easy. Now, when I'm doing sometimes with these, like these have a little more weight to them, so if I want to really slow down how the presentation, how they hit the water, and even on the ribbon tails, I won't go weighted, but it really depends on your structure. Now, with weight, like that's a 1/16. These are 3/16. I don't have right now in here, but I do need to get like a maybe in like a 1/4 ounce or a 1/2 ounce for like heavy, dense cover. Because sometimes you want to get that weight through the cover. Other times you want to try and get as light as you can and still get away with what you can get away with. Now, you can also do different ones here. Like this is kind of more of just like, I'll use this for like wacky rigs, or that's a weak guard. Sometimes I'll take that off because I feel like it affects the hook set. But this is like for wacky rigs. I also have kind of like a finesse heavy cover. And you can see on these, it's a straight shank. Right? Straight shank, but it has right through there, you're going to push your bait up over that, and that's going to catch it. It's going to help your worm stay on there. It's got the treble there, but it doesn't have any weed guard. But, inherently, if you're doing like a Texas rig or something, it's going to be weedless how you string it up. So those are kind of the main hooks I use. Honestly, this is probably my go-to hook, whether I'm doing it with ribbon tails, SEINKOs, tubes, swimmers. Well, actually, swimmer, I'm using a different jig, and then even my my CRAWs and chunks and beasts. So now colors. I think probably the most versatile color you can have is like some sort of a green, like a natural color. So these are great for like, high visibility. It matches like this, get really close to like a perch or, any sort of like a panfish there. So like a green pumpkin works great. You can get green pumpkin or something with like flex or something in there, watermelon. Like this one here is a watermelon. See, this is my 10-inch zoom worm. So that's if I want some extra tail action. So I think it's important to have, like, these are 7.5. This is like a red shad. So sometimes, sometimes they bite, and sometimes you just gotta, play with it. This is like a motor oil shad. So these are kind of more like, might be like my darker water. Then, you have your black and blue is like a classic. I love the June bug. And then I also do love, I went and got, like, this was on sale. So, I love anything from Strike King. This is just right here. This is their blue-black flake. I'm not sure how long those are. They're probably like 5 or 6 inches. So I'll do a lot of these when I do like wacky rigs, or, if I'm just, they have a little more weight to them. But I like those. If I really want to slow it down, I'll put the tail action, or if I'm kind of swimming them through stuff. So these are kind of my main colors there that I'll do. If I'm doing like natural waters, I'll use my greens, and then I'll always have black on, because black I feel is great for most situations. All right, guys, so next I'm going to show you another cool, like, slow presentation. So I really like the wacky rig, and you could do that with like the worms. You're laying it more on a horizontal, and that's really just slow down that presentation, have it really go through. I also like the Ned Rig, and I've not fished the Ned Rig a lot, but basically what it is it's a mushroom head jig. So basically it sits in the bottom of the water like that, and then you put on a straight worm. So I'm going to show you that, and that's really great because you can fish it, down, and it just basically pops along the water based on how you fish it. And I'm not going to show you how to fish the Ned Rig. You can get lost on YouTube and do that. There's really great tutorials if you just search how to fish a Ned Rig. But I'm going to show you kind of this cheap rig setup that I got off Amazon to test it out, because again, I'm new to Ned rigging, so I didn't want to drop a bunch of bucks on it. So it's actually been a pretty cool kit, and a lot of versatility in it, and I've caught a good amount of fish on it. So let's delve into what I'm using on the Ned Rig. Okay, so this is a Ned Rig. So I got this, and I'll put the links down below. This Ned Rig here, I got off Amazon, and I just got the 4-inch worm. You can go shorter, obviously, but basically it came with, different colors here, all the different colors. It came with, different size, like a bigger size and a smaller size to allow you to do it. And then it came with kind of a sampler pack of different colors. So again, these are kind of the main colors that I think you could get away with most of the year, right? You kind of have like your more natural, green pumpkin, kind of watermelon. You got your red shad. You have more of like a darker kind of motor oil, and then you have like your black. And then you also do, if you're in areas with like, bait fish or clear water, you have more of like a minnow presentation there, like a little shiner. So when you're fishing the Ned Rig, you know, you're casting it and it's going down, and you want to make sure that these things stand vertically, because you're basically popping it and it's fishing up and down like that. So if these don't fish properly, and they, you know, they're not weighted properly, or if you use like one of those SEINKO worms in there and just kind of cut it in half, which I was, honestly, I was trying, it's just not going to fish right. And these actually stand really vertically in the water column. And I know there's probably better ones out there, but again, this whole kit was like, I don't know, like 15 bucks. I'm not, don't quote me on that. You can check out the link below. But, you know, again, I don't have any affiliation here. I just wanted to try. You know, I've caught a couple good size ones. You know, I've caught small bass on it. I even caught like a 2.5 pound bass on it. So, you know, hooks are decent, I think, if you're getting started. And I think a Ned Rig is always good to have on those slower days. Definitely worth it. You can fish it deep. You can fish it shallow. So definitely worth trying out, you know, maybe a kit, or just get a couple of basic colors and a couple of basic weights, like a 1/10 weight or something. All right, guys, so now we've went over, you know, kind of my worms, like the ribbon tails, the SEINKO worms, went through the Ned Rig. And now, again, all these other soft baits, like this little guy with all the appendages, he's kind of chopped up because he's an older one, but he's missing some legs over here. But these are all great because the more appendages, whether there's, you know, little claws, like this is obviously a crawdad, but it has little legs, it sometimes looks like a little frog in the water, whatever it is, right? It pushes more water. So sometimes like in darker water, or maybe if you just want to create more vibrations and really attract, and maybe it's a slow day and they're just not doing it, it's nice to have different shapes in there, because you never know what's going to hit on that day. And I used to always fish with just worms, and the second I had these, worms still worked, but some days it was slower. I put something else on, especially like in darker, murky water, and it just helps the fish locate it better. So I'm going to show you kind of what's in my box here. I'm kind of running low because I've been fishing a lot of murkier, deeper waters, especially more like with some wind. So I've wanted to use these a lot more, and I just haven't restocked, so bear with me on this. Okay, guys, so these are, I kind of classified them as either my creature baits or chunk baits. And again, you can use these on trailers for like jigs. You can use these for, you know, trailers on chatterbaits. You can put these on a hook, like an offset hook, and use like the, you know, the Texas rig. I wouldn't use it on a Ned Rig because they just aren't made for that. But basically, you know, this is, for example, that's a CRAW. This one they call the Pit Boss. And you know, they look wild, but I actually have a video on YouTube here where I basically had one of these and I caught like 5 fish on them, and each time I lost a tail until I was left with the grub and they were still biting it. So sometimes they tell you what they want. This is another Christy CRAW. So these are kind of the colors that I carry. And again, it depends on your water, but again, you can never go wrong with like a green pumpkin here. You know, this one here, this is, what is this? This is also a green pumpkin, just a different size. I have kind of like a green pumpkin, kind of more of like some orange flake in there. So, I mean, some of these are scented. That one's got some blue in it. So this is great for like, you know, kind of looks like a bluegill or something like that. I have my rage tails. So obviously I like Strike King. I got these ones on sale when I got some of these jigs. And then I love this, the Christy CRAW. It's priced well. Yum makes great baits. I get a lot of their Yum dingers too. So again, I think it's important, just like with all the soft baits, I think it's important to have like a black color. You know, if you want to get flakes in it, great. I like having some flake in there, like the blue. Great for like morning, evenings, low light, you know, or like dirty, murky water, because in dirty, murky water, they can see this better. You know, I think it's important sometimes to have a little bit of flash on there. You have your more natural color. So, you know, you can go wild with it, but I do think like having some sort of like a green, you know, you can fish that like in clear waters, you know, natural water, match what it is. Maybe I'm like a red, or like, you know, something a little bit of flash on it, a black. And then because you're, you know, I shouldn't say most, but most, you know, creatures or, you know, small little grubs or anything like that in the crawfish world are not going to be like white. But you could get some white. I mean, you could do whatever you wanted. I think these are important to have a couple because they are great for like trailers on my chatterbaits. I was out fishing next to geese. You know, and you can even like, you know, like sometimes what I'll do with these long guys, I am put them on the chatterbaits or the jigs.
again, I know this is more of this stuff, is I'll just kind of cut right there so I have less hanging off. But it just depends. Sometimes you want to fish these bigger, like this one. I mean, it's a big bait, but it's also going to make a lot of vibrations in the water. But sometimes I'll cut it right there so it's not hanging off as much if I notice they're hitting the tail. So that is, again, just kind of my basic creature and craw baits there. So lastly, we're going to go over something that I've really used probably the least in my previous experience. I've had some good success, and I'm excited to keep on trying it out. They're going to be tube baits, like basic like paddle tail swim baits. But you do need to have a little bit different hook setup. So I'm gonna show you kind of the hook options you can use with these type of baits, and then kind of the things that I have right now in my toolbox. Okay, so when doing like a paddle tail here, you can see that little paddle tail. You know, you have like your little, I put my fluke baits in there. They're kind of more of a swim bait. And then you have your tubes. So when you're doing those, you want to have a couple different options. So this is like a tube bait where you know, you can, again, just Google how to put that on there. I'm not going to show you that, but you would just put your tube through, you know, so this is all concealed by the tube, and then you have your, you know, the tube ends are hanging off, so it's basically inside the tube like that. Now it's not weedless on this setup, but you know, you are going to be fishing it, you know, that bottom column, or slowly swimming it or hopping it off of the ground, and it just got a lot of great action, and sometimes that's what it works. You can use different size weights here. I believe I want to say this is like maybe a 1/4 ounce. I forget, but so based on the cover and depth and the current, you can get away with that. This is a swim jig, so you know, this is great for, like, you know, putting it on the fluke there. You know, you'd run it, you know, put it on the tail there. You know, if I had like a black head, or sometimes I'll take like my white and I'll just color on there if I wanted like a black, if I'm out of black. But some people say jig head color doesn't even matter, so do what you want. And then you can also do, you know, more of like your offset hook, or even like a straight finesse heavy cover hook, something like that. It just depends how you want to fish it. So when you're doing these guys, again, you'll notice I have a lot of Yum baits. I really like Yum. I think they're reasonably priced. Yum and Zoom, I'm not sure if they're owned by the same company or what their deal is, but Yum brands, I know maybe Zoom is one of their brands. And then I love striking. And I love all their like crankbaits and stuff, which would be another video. So I just kind of biased and wanted to try that. But I also got some, these are a little cheaper, and the pulse is great. So as you can see here, again, my basic color combos I'm going with. I have my black, I got my whites, and then I have my, you know, more of like my green and my green pumpkin there. So they're great. Again, this will get me through most situations. This one has a little bit more flash, so you know, it's kind of two-tone. You can't really see on the bottom, but it's got the black and all that. So you can go crazy with this, but I think it's important. You know, I'm fishing down here where it's kind of murkier waters. There are bait fish, and then sometimes it is clear, so I want to, you know, be more natural with that. So just kind of wherever you're fishing, it's important to have like a darker, like blue-black. You can never go wrong. You know, based on situations, you might want to have some like shiner, or, you know, some bait fish here. And then if you have anywhere, which is most North America, where they got, you know, different, you know, bluegill, pumpkin seed fish, perch, anything like that, this is gonna be great too. So as you can see, most of my colors here, the colors combos are the same. It's just gonna matter how you present them. And then, you know, just having a little arsenal is gonna help you out there. Like I said, I'm a big Texas rig fan. So if you can do Texas rig, sometimes I don't even put weight on, but if I really need to get down and fish maybe the bottom, especially like in this late summer or winter, I find it helpful to have different array of weights. And, you know, that's a 3/16. I have a 1/16. I really would like to get maybe a 1/4 and a 1/2 ounce, just to be able to sometimes get down deeper, especially if I'm fishing in the weeds or if there's just current and I'm not getting to the depth I want. All right, guys, there you have it. I hope you guys found that helpful. I'm gonna do this for all of like my diving baits, like crankbaits, jigs, this and that. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel. Comment below on anything you guys think I'm missing in terms of my soft baits or questions you have. And then, you know, hit that little bell, get the notifications for when I start to upload these things up there. But again, all the gear and all the baits that I went through today and the hooks and all that stuff, the terminal tackle, all gonna be in the links below. And again, disclaimer, I don't get paid for those. I'm just trying to
I find it helpful when people put links to their stuff when I watch videos, because sometimes I want to buy right then and I want to get out on the water and try it out. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Again, I don't get any money from these brands. And I'll be honest, Amazon affiliates don't pay that much. So I'm just trying to spread the knowledge. So again, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, try some of these lures out. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll be putting up more videos coming like next week.